Welcome to Bay Focus. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Well, I hope you'll go grab your cup of coffee like I have, or anything else that you care to drink to settle in and relax for the next 30 minutes, because we have a very, very interesting show for you today. It is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and we are going to devote a lot of the show, the majority of the show, to talking about that. We have two organizations coming in to talk today, Selah Freedom, and then also USF, University of South Florida, has something very, very unique and interesting that they do to help combat human trafficking. We're going to hear about that. But also, Elise Nicole, our reporter for Bay Focus, went to New York over the holidays, took her family, and she is going to share a really, really great, fun piece about that. But we're going to start today to give you a little bit look at one of our guests here today, Selah Freedom, what they do. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Stacy Efald, the Executive Director of Selah Freedom. We are a faith-based nonprofit organization bringing light into the darkness of sex trafficking. We provide the encouragement, the tools, and the environment to empower victims to become survivors. Did you know that 90% of all women involved in prostitution are being trafficked? They're not doing it by choice. Traffickers use fraud, force, and coercion to get them to stay in the life. At Selah Freedom, we offer 5 life-saving programs. Our prevention team is working with kids with age-appropriate curriculum in the schools to educate both children and adults about the dangers of sex trafficking and how to keep them safe. Our awareness team helps spread the word in our communities by providing adult awareness training, develop community partnerships, and inspire volunteers and donors to join our efforts. Our outreach team goes into the streets and in the jails alongside law enforcement, reaching out to those that are in the life right now and desperately need our help. Our residency programs have proven to be very successful. After 18 to 24 months of rehabilitation in the right environment, 87% do not return to their former life. At Selah Freedom, we take care of their basic needs. They can live in the home for up to 2 years, taking the time to rest, heal, and work on their education and career goals. They are doing the hard work, rebuilding their lives and embracing a survivor mindset. We can never give back the years stolen from these young women and men, but what Selah Freedom can provide is hope and opportunity. Some of the accomplishments of the survivors include earning their degrees in accounting, attending nursing school, obtaining their GED, becoming a published author, and even opening up their own businesses. Often they see no way out. Their boundaries and self-esteem were shattered at a young age. Along with Selah Freedom, they need your help to put a big dent in this $150 billion industry. Can we count on your support to help these young victims become survivors and finally have the life they truly deserve?
Well, that gives you a little bit of a look at what Selah Freedom does to fight human trafficking. And we've had them on the program before, and but there's some exciting things coming up here and into this new year, things that they're doing, and particularly kicking off the year. So the executive director who you saw in that video share with about the ministry and organization, what they do, is with us back today. Stacy, welcome back. Stacy Efald, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
for coming. Always great having you. You do such tremendous work in helping people. And you brought with you a very distinguished guest, which we're really honored to have today, Dr. Joan Reed, who is the director of the USF, University of South Florida, Trafficking in Persons, TIP, otherwise known as TIP, Research Lab. Welcome to the show, Dr. Reed.
Great to have you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And you partner with organizations like Stacy's.
Of course, we've worked together.
What you do to help. And I want to say a little bit here too, so people know that when we're talking, both Stacy and Dr. Reed have tremendous backgrounds. Stacy has 30 years in nonprofits, 4 years working directly with human trafficking. And then Dr. Reed, I want to read a little bit. I'm going to brag on you a little bit because we're so excited to have you. She is right in the middle of the state-of-the-art trafficking endeavor, anti-trafficking endeavor. In addition to leading TIP, she's a professor of criminology. She's authored more than 65 publications on child sex trafficking in Florida and was recently ranked as the 5th most active human trafficking researcher in the world, alongside researchers from Harvard and Johns Hopkins. So she knows what she's talking about. And since we just mentioned it, you're an author.
Yes.
We're just going to show this on screen. Her most recent book, correct? Trauma, Bonding, and Interpersonal Crimes. So this is the material she generates helps so many groups, including such as like Selah Freedom. But let me start with you, Stacy, because we saw in the video some of the things. You have a five-pronged approach.
Yes.
Bring us up to date over this past year, 2024. You had some tremendous stats and accomplishments.
Yeah, we did. It's been an exciting year for us, and probably one of the busiest years we've had so far, and also while dealing with hurricanes.
Yeah.
A crazy year, but we helped 53 survivors in our residential programs. As you know, we have 2 homes that we serve through. And then we had 140 survivors go through our outreach program. So that's close to 200 survivors right here in our local community that we're working with. And another thing that's very important to us is our prevention training for youth. We want to get out there and educate the youth before the traffickers ever get to them. We want to arm them with knowledge of what to do if they're ever approached by a trafficking situation, and help them be aware. And we trained almost 7,000 youth last year to give them the knowledge of what to do.
Wow.
We want to prevent it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yes.
a big part of,
Yes.
of what you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, now you also, one of the things you do, I believe, is you train people for consulting. Tell us a little bit about that.
So what we like to do is we want to help end trafficking worldwide, but we know we can't do it all. And our main focus is the Tampa Bay area. But what we do is we train others. They may have been called to open a safe house somewhere else, and they have the desire and the passion, but they don't have the knowledge. So we will actually train them on how to open a safe home. And we give them all of the curriculum, the employee handbooks, everything. So they can go to their community and open their safe house there. It's almost like a church planting.
Yeah.
But then after that, we keep training them. So we've opened them all over the world now. Over 70 safe homes we've helped open.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. And your organization deals with everybody. You do try to reach out and get churches involved and try to do all that too. So you kind of cover that end of it. I want to give this information before we talk to Dr. Reed, because I really want to find out what USF is doing here. Our viewers, you're going to be fascinated with everything they're doing. But there's a Human Trafficking Summit coming up that you are sponsoring, but you're partnering with people like the USF TIP Lab. Tell us about what this is.
Yeah, we're bringing together professionals with different aspects about human trafficking. You know, we're the service provider helping deal with the survivors, but wanted to bring in law enforcement. So we have law enforcement, local law enforcement, Sarasota. We've got Department of Homeland Security, which we often work with on large prostitution stings. We're starting off the summit with a wonderful documentary that an amazing filmmaker made, Joshua, and he is featuring one of our graduates, Mia. So that's going to be a great thing to do, to watch that. And then we have Shelley Wagner from USF that's going to be there with us that day.
All right, I love that. And we're showing this on screen. And the date of this is what?
It's January 30th.
January 30th.
Yep.
And location?
USF Sarasota Manatee. And the Selby Auditorium, 9 to 11:30, 9 a.m.
Okay. So they can contact, we're going to be putting on the screen how they can contact you, and we've got information on screen. And all right, Dr. Reed, you were instrumental in starting this, what we call a TIP Lab.
Right.
What are you doing? How did you start this, and what is USF doing?
Yeah, so in March of 2020, USF, the research granted the funds that we needed in order to begin a research lab. So we had researchers on all 3 campuses. We have Tampa and St. Petersburg and Sarasota, but we were all working in isolation. Yeah. And so, my vision was that together we could do more. So USF agreed and funded the beginning of this Trafficking in Persons Research Lab.
And what does that mean? Because there's this particular purpose. You have there's something called Bright that you do. There is a service you're providing organizations like Selah Freedom there was a hole that you're filling. What was that hole?
Right. So we began the research lab by doing interviews with leaders in the anti-trafficking movement. We interviewed over 100 leaders in the anti-trafficking movement in Florida to begin the lab. I'm a former practitioner. I've worked as a rape crisis counselor. All of my colleagues really at USF have all come out of a practitioner background. We didn't want to just have a lab in the ivory tower that just put out information that was not helpful. Yeah. And so we asked, like, what can we do? I'd been working and researching in Florida for almost 20 years at that point on child sex trafficking. And I'm like, my question was, how do we move this forward? How do we create synergy to really combat this problem so that Tampa Bay became an area of resilience to human trafficking? And so that we got two strong answers from the community. One, they were like, we really need better information and data on where human trafficking is occurring in my neighborhood, in my region. I talked to someone in Hillsborough County, and he told me, I know where every tree is and how tall it is, but I have no idea where human trafficking is occurring in my area. So they asked for data, they asked for information. And the second thing they asked for, which I had been hearing a cry from the community for this for 20 years, was a better way to connect survivors to services. Often you hear about these stings in the news, and all of a sudden there's 20 maybe survivors who need assistance right then. Yeah. And so they need a way, a portal. We're leveraging, technology in order to connect survivors to services in quickly, so that they're not re-victimized.
So you're pooling resources. You're creating more of a, for lack of a better way to say it, user-friendly. They can go to you and find out what's available where in all different ways. And you work with the state on this as well, right?
Yes. So there's really two projects. One is BRIGHT, which is Bridging Resources and Information Gaps in Human Trafficking. A USF student came up with that lovely acronym. And that is the referral service. And so it's a vetted service too. So we go out, if you're in that in the web program where you can get and receive referrals, we vet everyone that's in there first. So you can feel like you're safe. If someone needs a shelter and they're in the BRIGHT system, they've been vetted. We've been out there, looked with our own eyes at their program to make sure that's a safe and secure place for you to send someone who needs shelter. So that's the BRIGHT program. And then in addition to that, the data issue that everyone's asked for is that, the state of Florida, almost all agencies collect human trafficking data of some form, right? But it's all siloed and no one was sharing their data. Yeah. And so fortunately in 2023, Governor DeSantis signed Senate Bill 7064, which mandated that state agencies share their human trafficking data with the USF TIP lab. And so we're able to, through that statute, receive data from the different agencies.
You're located doing this TIP lab is located in the USF St. Pete campus, but like you said, you have a presence in all of them. So this is a combined effort, and I have to commend USF for doing this. This is, like you said, started in 2020. Right. To see the need and how they could come alongside of it. And speaking of the need, and you both can speak to this. I know Stacy's got some stats from just Sarasota on what happens there. How pervasive is this in our area, that human trafficking? We've heard some staggering info at times that Tampa Bay is kind of a hotbed.
It really is. We did we had a company that went through and did a recent, they scanned the internet for 1 week in April of 2024 of just Sarasota. And they had identified 149 postings about sex for sale. So that was 149 individuals posting for sex for sale, and there were over 500 ads. And over 35 of them to 85 were focused on juvenile. So, trying to buy sex with a minor. And that's just right here. That's a 7-day scan of what they've seen. Snapchat was one of the most prevalent ones. So I know a lot of kids are on Snapchat. So just want the parents to be aware of what they're seeing.
This is that's just one little taste. One area. Yeah. But Dr. Reed, I want you guys have both deal with one-on-ones too, and dealing with encountered victims, obviously, of human trafficking. And of course, even prior to doing all this, all your years as a mental health practitioner and counselor, paint us a picture. You have a story to tell. You never know once you're going to just encounter somebody that has a story that you would never know by looking at them.
Of course.
What they've been through.
Right.
You had a story to tell. You've got to share this.
Yeah, so it was interesting. It was a blessing, and it's kept my passion. I had an encounter. I was flying out. It was prior to being hired at USF, so don't get nervous, USF, that I was going out for an interview, job interview.
Yeah.
I was flying for a job interview to California, and I got on the plane, and I was sitting by a woman, and she was so friendly, and she would not quit talking. You know, I'm sure you've all sat by someone like that, right? Yeah. And I needed to prep for my job interview, and I couldn't distract her or get her to quit talking to me. She was so gregarious and friendly. And finally, I said, "Let me. Do you mind? Let me practice my job interview with you." You know. And so I had it was actually my dissertation, which was a pathway from childhood into sexual exploitation. And so I had, the path model and all the stats. And so I went through it, and I'm like, it starts with caregiver strain and issues with caregivers. And then, it goes into the child runs away and because of the stress of the situation. And then because of the running away, they're in danger, and they end up, being tricked and manipulated into sexual exploitation. Yeah. And so after I told her that, she's like, she just stared at me and she goes, "You just described my life. You just described my life. I was 14 years old. I ran away from home. I got pulled in by a trafficker. And for the next 20 years, she was in sexual exploitation. And, fortunately she had gotten out, and she had a family now.
Her life had gotten.
She was in sales, which,
right.
She was that's this gregarious, wonderful woman. But, she said to me, "I didn't know anyone studied this."
Wow.
And I'm going to have to stop it there. We're running out of time. But when we had talked about this before we came onto the show, I went, just that moment that you never know. You're sitting next to somebody. That was probably the last thing you thought you encountered. And we could all be out in our daily life and we're interacting with somebody. So that's why. So if we were to encounter somebody like this, the resources you guys are providing. Okay, in the last few moments we have, how can our viewers help both of you? Let me start quickly with Selah Freedom and then the USF Tip Lab too. How can they help?
With Selah Freedom, we always need financial donations. It costs about $100,000 for us to put one survivor through our program.
Yeah.
And then volunteers. There are so many people that have amazing talents that could help us.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then this doesn't happen free either, right? What you guys are doing.
Right. And I would like to say, if you're providing services and you want to be part of the Bright Network, please contact us, and we'll invite you into that program where you're a part of those service providers who are working together to make a difference. Yeah,
that's a great. What a great partnership that would be, to have the resources and everything you all have. Okay, thank you both so much. This went so fast.
Thank you.
But what you're doing, and again, we're putting a spotlight on it this month, is so important. And then I want to encourage our viewers. We're going to put you on the screen again, how you can connect to find out. Put on the screen again the Human Trafficking Summit that is going to be happening in Sarasota, sponsored by Selah Freedom, but also partnerships like USF here. And then we'll be right back with more of Bay Focus. I want to thank so much Selah Freedom and the USF TIP Lab being represented today. I want to mention to you earlier in the interview, Dr. Reed talked about her book, and we show that to you on the screen as well. You can get that at Amazon, easily get that. So we want you to get that as well. We're going to change direction now here a little bit. Elise Nicole, our reporter for Bay Focus, is here. Woo-hoo. But you just had an epic, I wanted you to share this. This is going to be a fun way to end the show. You had a family trip to New York.
Yes.
This was a return for you. This is your roots up there. So what did you guys went for the new year?
We were there almost 10 days, actually. So it was a lot longer.
The whole family?
The whole family, the whole shebang, all 6 of us. And it was extremely emotional, beautiful, and enlightening. We had seen about 25 historic landmarks, iconic attractions in New York City. I happened to grow up in New Jersey across the Hudson. And, growing up, we would bring my father to the Twin Towers every day. On the 97th floor, he worked. Wow. Haywood Robertson. And, up until right around 9/11, he happened to not be there the day of 9/11. But unfortunately, my cousin was. So it was bittersweet. Flying in, seeing the sunset over the city skyline was the first time I had seen it since 9/11. And I was very emotional coming in and, just trying to stay strong for the family and
and you captured some of that in this video piece we're going to go to. And then you also had just, an incredible, you were there when the ball dropped.
Yes.
Literally right there for New Year's Eve. You guys stayed right down on Times Square. All right. So this is pretty epic. And in true Elise style, you're going to see the excitement and the fun they had along with some of the more poignant moments. Let's take a look at the New York trip.
Hi, this is Elise Nicole reporting for Bay Focus Beyond the Bay in Times Square on New Year's Eve. Woohoo! 4, 3, 2, 1. I can't believe I was really there. The excitement, exuberance, and literal chaos is a must-see at least once in a lifetime. But let's rewind to where this trip all began.
Here we are heading to New York City. Very exciting. I haven't been there since 9/11, but I'm all warm and cozy, ready to go back to being a Jersey girl.
Almost here. We're landing soon. It's officially 26 degrees. Driving into New York City in literal Times Square, where it's all about to happen. The excitement is palpable, and I can't believe we're actually here.
Times Square, baby.
Waking up Christmas morning in the city felt like a dream. Silver bells, it's Christmas time in the city. This is so wonderful. Oh my gosh, you guys, look you guys, look at this, wow. It's snowing in New York. It's snowing in New York in Times Square. So I guess I went a little bonkers, but my kids were so enjoying it. And a white Christmas on Christmas Day in New York City, what could be better? Just like in the movies.
We visited everywhere, starting at Rockefeller Center, then Saks Fifth Avenue, the new Louis Vuitton building, Macy's area shopping, Trump Tower, Gucci, the exquisite Chrysler Building, the Imperial Empire State Building, Washington Square Park with its arch honoring George Washington, the Dakota Building where John Lennon lived and sadly he was murdered, and the glorious Central Park where my kids threw snowballs at each other, just like in the movie Home Alone.
Then St. Patrick's Cathedral. The somber reminder that the last time I was in the city was right after 9/11. My father worked at the Twin Towers on the 97th floor growing up.
In the dawn of
When I was little, I would always draw pictures of the city, but then they became darker and more sorrowful. Then drawings where the towers collapsed. I never knew why I would draw them. I just had a feeling. But now I know.
As the days dance wildly and the winds bring memories spinning round my head.
Even though my father wasn't there on 9/11, my precious cousin Joseph was. He didn't make it out. Trying to focus on the joy he'd want me and the family to experience the rest of our time here. Let's go to Radio City Music Hall and watch the spectacular Rockettes. Now to the Met and Museum of Art for the original Van Gogh Starry Night, Monet's Water Lilies, F.A.O. Schwartz Toy Store from the movies Big and Home Alone, Carnegie Hall, Tiffany's, New York Stock Exchange, New York Library, Statue of Liberty, The Great Gatsby,
Winter Garden Theater.
and let's end looking toward the future. What an amazing journey it's been and will continue to be.
Wow, I love that. Thank you, Elise, so much for putting that together. You took us there.
Yeah.
We experienced your emotions, the fun, the also the very somber moments of what you experienced there with the 9/11. But wow, what a tremendous trip. And thank you for sharing that with our Bay Focus viewers.
Of course.
And thank you for tuning in today. And we want to encourage you again to connect with Selah Freedom, also the USF Tip Lab in their fight against human trafficking. This is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And that's a good point to say that. Be aware. You never know who's in your neighborhood, who you'll encounter that could be dealing with this or be victims of trafficking. And as Christians, we want to be putting our faith in action. So if there's ways we can help, we can help against this fight. And then we want to hear from you on Bay Focus on the screen. You can see how you can contact me. I look forward to hearing from you. Let us know what's going on. God bless you.